We are so grateful for this gift tonight. Thank you so much, Opal. Okay, so what shall we do next? Well, we're going to have some more readings, and this time from some of our youngest amongst us. We have Makai Emmanuel. Now, it's important that you know that as Makai comes here, he's very important. And his last name is spelled with an I, he told me. So it's Emmanuel with an I, correct?
Chapter 8, A Day in the Field. Papa owned acres of land which he grew many crops such as yam, okra, sweet potato, pumpkin, garlic, escallion, peanuts, cassava, bunga peas, sugar cane, and sorrel. His field was more than he could manage alone, so the other men who lived in the community often helped him plant and reap. As his sons grew older, he insisted that they help him on Saturdays, while the girls helped their mother around the house. Portia did not like helping with house cleaning and wished she could go to the field with her papa and brothers. Luck was on Portia's side. One day, Mama Min had to go to Kingston. Papa decided that the children would accompany him to the field rather than stay home and get into mischief. He walked them when it was still dawn and the air was cool. All the morning birds were out: robins, smoothbills, woodpeckers, and bleating wild green parrots soared and chased each other. Butterflies and mongooses darted through the bushes. Martinas and bright red locusts blew a hole, and tall pinocchiana trees and ferns burst among the trees and meat. Portia loved flowers and birds, so she begged Papa to put her down so she could chase after them. Please give me one of the machetes, Portia asked as he cut repeatedly. No, go over where the goes. He pointed to her sisters on the other side. Portia pouted and went around instead, pulling up weeds. She pulled one weed up, and hanging from its root were small, wiggly pink worms. Portia dropped the stick and squealed. She was terrified of worms, even though her papa said they were food for the soul. Lizards and earthworms were two creatures that Portia did not like. Papa, she went pleading. Papa, Ezekiel won't give me a machete to use. Oh, you're a girl and you're too slow, her papa said, ignoring her. One day I'm going to prove that it doesn't matter that I'm a girl. Portia muttered to the guava tree.
Thank you so much for that reading. And so now we have one more reading, and this is Najila Bisnat. She's 10 years old, and she's going to be reading chapter 10. She's in grade 5 at Mona Prep. All right.
Women encourage her children to dream. Dreams are the trees you grow to shelter under when it rains, she told them. Mama Min, what does a tree and rain have to do with dreams? The children asked. Portia never questioned her mother. She just went about dreaming or walking as if her head was in the clouds. As Tedra would say, Portia dreamed of the things she wanted to do and of helping others. Some of her dreams happened in her sleep, and others while she was alone, looking up at the sky or staring at the mountain. Once she dreamed she was on the top of the Blue Mountains, and a golden swallowtail butterfly perched on her shoulder and sat there for a long time. As she breathed as quietly as she could, the butterfly flew away dreamed she was at the Rio Cobre, sitting on a large stone surrounded by children, giving each a juicy red apple to eat out. Portia told her siblings what she dreamed of, but only Tedroy did not tease her. When anyone teased Portia about her dreams, Mama Min scolded them. Leave Miss Ted alone. One of these days, her dreams are going to come true. Her father defended her too. Miss Portia knows achievement begins with dreaming. Portia's favorite dream was one in which she was in a field surrounded by hibiscus, and all around people clapped and shouted her name.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Makai. That was excellent reading. All right, now we have a gifting of words from Opal.
For that, the gifting of words is really about, for me, I've always been about history, and I've always been about celebrating women and the life in Jamaica. And so for me, to have a first female prime minister, and still the only female prime minister that we've had, is an amazing achievement. Many of us in Jamaica don't necessarily see that, but internationally, that is the sentiment. And when I was at the Institute for Gender and Development Studies at the regional office, Portia Simpson was the honorary fellow attached to the institute, and so I had many occasions to speak with her. And one of the things she said is that she would love for children to know her life, her childhood. And that for me was really important for, particularly for us to see where someone comes from and how they transition, what are the steps they take in order to reach one of the highest positions in the nation. And part of this notion of gifting words is really of gifting a reality that many of us don't see, right? And the process of creating this book was first visiting where Portia Simpson grew up, because for me that was very important, that I was familiar in the physical space. If I didn't go there, I would not have known what the landscape looked like. I would not have known the birds and the trees that were there. I had the pleasure also of visiting one of the churches she attended and visiting the school she attended, which was refurbished. And so in addition to interviewing her, I was interviewing some of her siblings and her niece to piece the story together, and then to create the story based on a 30 question that I came up with in terms of details about her life as a child that I thought would be important and interesting for other children to know about this little girl. When I think about my own life and the kinds of things that I liked and the kinds of things that I did, that's the kind of process that I use in order to write this book. And I wanted children, and I think this is also true of Portia Simpson Miller, is that she wanted children to understand that despite her humble, and I kind of feel funny about that word, but it's what I'm using now, that she achieved, and that she as a child was a dreamer. Not only she said, but her brother Tedroy, who just died recently, and to whom she was closest, and I had the pleasure of interviewing him, talked about that. So Portia Dreams is a gift to Jamaican children, a gift particularly to children who grew up and who are still living in rural areas with a lack of basic necessities, but who through education and opportunity have an opportunity to ascend to their highest office in Jamaica. And I hope that we'll have a second female prime minister soon. And so for me, Portia Dreams is gifting an opportunity to imagine outside what is possible. And I don't remember quite who said it, that if your dreams do not overwhelm you, you are not dreaming big enough. Huh? If your dreams do not overwhelm you, you are not dreaming big enough. And I want everyone to have dreams that overwhelm them. You know, and I particularly want this for us in Jamaica, and I want it for every child who live in every nook and cranny and back a wall, no water, no electricity in 2022. Because if we do not have dreams individually and collectively that overwhelm us, then the development that we aspire to isn't going to happen. The equality that we aspire to isn't going to happen, but it can. I believe that it can. And I believe that all of us collectively dreaming big, you know, and gifting each other our dreams and our reality can make that happen. So I want to thank these two young people. Give them a hand again. For reading excerpt of Portia Dreams, which went through 5 drafts, is written, has 10 chapters. And the 2 sections that so there are 10 chapters in the collection, and Mackay read, chapter 1, which was an important chapter, because in that chapter, when the information that I got from both Mrs. Simpson and her siblings was that, she loved to be out in the fields and she loved flowers. And so they read from that chapter. So the 12 chapters are Curious Portia, just coming to know who this child is, at home in Woodhall, which is where she was born and grew up, going to school, learning the rules, dinner time, very much a family time. And I also want to say that for me, I find that when I speak to a lot of children in Jamaica, they don't necessarily have the names of birds and trees and plants that are evident around them. And I again wanted to make sure that they, we tend to say, oh, it's a bird, it's a tree there, but we don't have these other names. And so I really spent a lot of times detailing the landscape and making sure that we knew that this bird was not just, a parrot or whatever, and it was not just a tree. So that for me was also very important. There's a chapter in here which I think initially we thought maybe shouldn't be in there. I thought it should be in there because, in fact, when I had spoken to 2 of her siblings, they said this was an important transition and part in the family. So here is a small country home of 3 bedrooms, maybe not even 3, and there were 11 people, 9 children, and the mother and the father and the grandfather. And the grandfather died, and she was very close to the grandfather. And there was a nine-night, which is a very different thing now. I hear there's jukebox and all kinds of stuff. And so there's also a section in there. Because again, I wanted to show the rural life, the community, and also some of the cultural things that many children nowadays might not be aware of, but which is a part of our history and our lineage. So, Portia Dreams, gifting you that.
Thank you so much. So, just thinking about the readings that the children did, and then of course the follow-up work that you just offered, Opal, and really putting this together and thinking about how important this becomes for all readers, especially the younger ones. Because it's not just that you're offering the point of a big dream and how it matters, but the transparency, right? To tell us the creative process that you went through to produce this text, so that any young writer, young artist can understand what that process might look like, the research that goes into it, the interviews, the visits that you mentioned, the drafts, the rejections, the edits, all of that is helpful for someone that might want to enter into that space. So the dreams and the transparency work together to kind of offer a blueprint, and for that we are all grateful. If anyone here is interested, the books are all on sale right over here. You can purchase Portia Dreams for $1,000, Storyteller's Return is $2,500, and 100 Plus Voices for Miss Lou is $3,850. So make sure that you go after the event. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be bringing in Ruth Howard and Anne Margaret Lim to do readings, but let me tell you a bit about who they are. So Ruth Howard is a consummate communicator, creative writer, and storyteller. She is a women's rights and gender justice advocate with a BA in Media and Communications from UWI School of Media and Communications. And she has an MSc in Gender and Development Studies with distinction from UWI's Institute for Gender and Development Studies Regional Coordinating Unit. She's a member of the Leadership for 30-Year-Old Gender Advocacy Group, with WMW Jamaica, and is also a digital ambassador for World Pulse, an international online community connecting and empowering women advocates and storytellers from 227 countries. She's also a delegate for the Jamaica Ubuntu United Nations and initiative training young leaders from 193 countries in human rights, social justice, and sustainable development, with the participation of Nobel Peace Prize laureates such as Muhammad Yunus, Kailash Satyarthi, and Lima Gbowie. We also have Anne Margaret Lim, who's going to be reading, and she's a poet and communications practitioner. Her second poetry collection, Kingston Buttercup, was nominated in the poetry category of the 2017 Bocas Prize in Trinidad and Tobago. Her first collection of poems, The Festival of Wild Orchid, was nominated for the UK's Guardian First Book Prize and received honorary mention in the 2013 Bocas Prize. Lim has published in various anthologies and journals in the Caribbean, the UK, the US, and South America. And Margaret has represented Jamaica in international festivals such as the 2014 Calabash Lit Festival and such festivals in Venezuela and Colombia, and the St. Martin Book Fair in 2017. We are happy to have them reading today, so please, you can put your hands together for Ruth Howard and also for